Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, healing from these relationships, making sense of these relationships, and learning from other people's, which we're about to. And am I the asshole? Love these. So let's take this one on. My brother Tom, who's 36, and I, the person writing this 26-year-old woman, have never really had a solid relationship due to our age gap. We didn't spend much time, and by the time I was old enough to develop a personality, he was moved out of the house. For the last 2 years, my brother and his fiancée, Sarah, who's 32, have been planning their wedding, and it's coming up in September. I was asked to be a bridesmaid. I figured I was only asked as a courtesy since I'm her soon-to-be sister-in-law, but I still took it seriously. I have been a bridesmaid for the last 2 years. Just a few weeks ago, I managed to save up to buy the $800 bridesmaid's dress. Overall, in the last 2 years, between group outings to parties, dinners, lunches, clothes, etc., I spent thousands of dollars. Eventually, all the girls in the wedding and I became extremely close, and I started to get hyped for the wedding. Sarah recently got close with her brother's wife, Becky, who's 30 years old. Last week, she dropped the ball on me that she no longer wants me to be a bridesmaid, and she would prefer if Becky would take my place. It broke my heart a little, but it's her wedding, and it's not my place to tell her how to run it, so I said it was fine. Yesterday, I went to my brother's house to pick up the bridesmaid's dress and was going to see if I could return it since it was within the time frame. Sarah was completely appalled and said that Becky was going to wear it since she and I are the same size. I said that would be fine, but they would have to pay me the $800 for it. Sarah said that Becky couldn't afford it and I should just be nice and let her use it, and said that I could keep it after the wedding. I explained that I'm not just giving away the dress and I'm not ever going to use it after the wedding. After some bickering back and forth, I just ended up taking it and leaving. My brother and Sarah tried to compromise with me and say I could be the assistant flower girl. You're 26, what the hell? And I felt offended at the offer. After I said no, they then said that Becky could give me $250 for it. Again, no, and I returned the dress and got a full refund. I told them I understand that it's their wedding, but they're being extremely disrespectful to me, and I don't need to deal with it, and I'm not going to the wedding. Today, my coworker says she has an extra round-trip plane ticket to go to Miami that she'll sell to me for half price, plus I would have to pay her for half the hotel and I can go hang out with her in Florida. The only downside is that I'll be in Florida for the week of my brother's wedding. So will I be the asshole if I just go party in Miami instead of going to my brother's wedding? Layers and layers here, okay? So folks, again, I don't know if in these scenarios anyone's a narcissist. By and large, these am I the assholes are often about entitled people. So let's keep this at entitled and layer it from there. Weddings bring out the absolute worst in people. How it is some crazy celebration of love brings out the worst in people, but inevitably it does. I think it's whatever reason that a 32-year-old woman is a princess fantasy could be part of it. So many pieces here. Number one, let's just start with the punchline. Is she an asshole for not going to the wedding? Absolutely not. That's what a boundary looks like, and it's not comfortable. However, this person who wrote this, what she's going to be facing is the long-term fallout, right? So anytime you make one of these family system, set a boundary, push back on the entitled person decision, you set off a ripple effect that sort of doesn't end. It's a little bit different if it's with a friend. Certainly it would be quite impactful if it was a partner, but definitely impactful in a family, right? And especially on a significant event, because their attitude is going to be in perpetuity, you not only didn't come to our wedding, you went to Miami instead. I personally think I think this was a good call, because I think she needs to set a precedent here. She said from the top, she's not close to her brother, and maybe I really see the worst in people, but I gotta wonder how much of this, because I can't imagine the bride's brother just got married. Seems like the brother's wife has been around. Like if this was some scam to make the person who wrote this question pay for the $800 dress and run the scam that way. Could be, but that's not what the point is. Setting this kind of a mega boundary, like I said, while it does set ripples, it also allows a person to, in essence, take themselves back. It's very clear she will never have a meaningful relationship of any kind, nothing but the most superficial with not only the brother, but certainly with the sister-in-law. Given that this woman is saying she saw through all of her bridesmaid responsibilities, showed up to the events, bought the $800 dress you can only wear one time, goes to this 2 years of this. I mean, companies have been started and fallen in that much time. So 2 years is a long time to be sort of celebrating this ridiculous woman who's getting married. But the idea that, again, what I find fascinating about this question is really what this woman is asking. Forget the wedding, forget the dress, forget that we're going to take the dress away from you and give it to this other person who allegedly can't pay for it and all of that. It's the sense that somebody feels that they're an asshole if they set a boundary. Because that's really what she did. Initially, she even took the attitude. Many people would have said, I was deeply offended I can't be the bridesmaid. She's saying here that she took the attitude of, okay, it's your wedding, that's totally fine, and was trying to take back whatever other financial, she'd lost the rest of the money, the events and all that. It sounds like she had some fun. But this idea that she would buy a dress for somebody else, that somebody would think that that is an acceptable ask. You've just peered fully into their character, right? And so when she was actually willing to play ball and say, okay, I get it, your wedding, fine, I'll just come as a not bridesmaid. But when they turned it into this, and my guess is that the brother was supporting the bridezilla soon-to-be wife, went with it, that there is no moving forward. And that no moving forward of it is something that she's learning relatively early. Who knows how long he's been with the girlfriend? They've been engaged for about 2 years. But let's say she's only known this gal for 4 or 5 years, the bride. The fact is that she's getting out early. So what then? She shows up at the wedding, watching this other person, Becky, whoever she is, in the bridesmaid's position. They're angry at her for not having swallowed the $800 on the dress, which it sounds like it's not like she has a lot of money. And then goes to this ridiculous wedding. To what end? Because they'll do something like this to her again. When people behave in this floridly entitled manner, they're going to do it again. This gal, by setting the boundary, and again, struggling with that discomfort, am I the asshole for setting a boundary? That's the struggle. At this point, if she's not going to the wedding, it doesn't matter if she goes to Miami or the moon. I mean, she's not going, and that's fine. However, it's easy to see how this family system may critique her even more, saying, oh, well, you were going to go to Miami to party all along. That's all you ever wanted to do, and really view her in a negative light. Something that comes up a lot for people who are experiencing any form of toxic relationships, which we can call this, is that they care how they're seen, right? None of us want to be seen in an inaccurate light, right? And a lot of us want to be seen as nice, especially if in most of our interactions in life, as presuming that the other people are holding up their side of the bargain, we want to be a nice person, right? We want to be viewed as a nice person. And now in perpetuity, she's forever going to be viewed as the sister-in-law who didn't show up to the wedding and went to the party in Miami. To which I say, go have a great time. But that sense that we'll be misperceived is something that can often leave people relenting, like, I'll show them how nice I am. Ultimately, they're not noticing you, and you've now wasted an entire weekend at a wedding of 2 people who are more than willing to take advantage of you. Family boundaries are tough. When people set them, they feel like they're the bad person. And guess what, folks? Your wedding, your strange little distorted Disney princess fantasy, is not carte blanche to behave like an entitled fool. Entitled is entitled. Doesn't matter if it's your birthday or your wedding or anything. That behavior is a problem. And if you detect it, you've just learned something about this person. Hope that answers it. I hope she has a great time in Miami and love to hear your thoughts. Thanks again.